the cradle of goodness. My name is Anne Mungai.
And my name is Andy Mike Kilambo. And you can follow us on our social media platforms, that is Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And our SMS number is running down below your screens. Good morning.
Yes, the hashtag is always the Morning Dew Show. Now, today we have a lot lined up for you, but first, let's look at what is happening on the headlines.
And today, July 20th, being Wednesday 20th, 2022, the Daily Nation has this on the front page. Clash of visions and principles, that was in concerns with the debate between the deputy principals. And there's also a story about leap of faith, that is in sports, where Helen Obiri and Faith Kipyegon made us proud. There are more stories on that. We'll be talking about it. And there's an opinion here that give WHO, that is World Health Organization, the land it needs for our hospital. Yeah, and those are some of the stories making headlines today on the Daily Nation.
Now, looking at the standard here, the story that is making headlines is on page 2, 3, 4, 6, and 7 that says big clash of deputies. Looking at that, we know that yesterday there was a deputy presidential debate at Catholic University of Kenya. So we'll be getting to details with that. There's another story here on page 14 that says Kenyans to wait longer for cheap maize flour. That is on page 14. And there's another story here on business that says Kenya gets 28 billion loan from IMF. That and many more stories on the standard. All right, now let's look at the newspaper reviews.
And the biggest story that is making headlines about the deputy principals from the various coalitions. That is Martha Karua, who represented the Azimio, Gachagua, Gachagua, who was part of the Kenya Kwanza, then the Roots Party candidate, that was Wamae, was also there, and the Agano Party running mate, who was also there. So the debate yesterday was really interesting.
And I want to read maybe what the standard says here. Battle Royale. The 3 women and 1 man who faced Kenyans fired on all cylinders in their pitch for the deputy president job. A straight shooting lawyer, a stealing former administrator, an apologetic weed promoter, and determined social contractor. The mosaic of their talents was in full display. Beyond their glossy words and lofty promises, the real work is cut out for them. And of course, this is the main story, so it's a full page on the standard. And maybe we can look at that, how the debate went by. I know maybe you watched that debate. And they told us a lot of things of how, the promises they want to, to show us, and everything that they want to deliver to Kenyans. And maybe we can look at what each one of them said.
Sure.
Now, what Justina Wamai said, and I quote, "Tyranny of numbers has been used every other time. Rhodes is bringing mind shift. We are working towards legalizing cannabis. Kenyans, when you see us campaigning, do not hate us because we have nothing to give. We have ideas that will take Kenya forward." Arguing is not only a disgrace, but this is now what Mother Karua said. Arguing is in public is not only a disgrace, but not respecting the Kenyans who put in office. There is nothing wrong with the constitution, but there is something wrong with our behavior. We should be able to maintain deference with people who are above us, so that tomorrow, even if we disagree, we can still work together. That was Mother Karua's take. And Ruth Musheru from the Agano Party said that we have the numbers in Agano. Some of these research institutes have been sponsored. What they are doing to us and Kenyans is reverse psychology. What they are trying to do is say there is tyranny of numbers to give them an upper hand. And in turn, what Mr. Rigathi said, he said, I like to look at life in a positive way. We are a formidable pair brought together by common divergence to serve the people of Kenya. There will be sideshows that can come between us. It is incomprehensible that we could think of having sideshows.
Just to add a little bit of what you are saying, according to the Daily Nation, they are saying the vice, that is Rigathi Gachagua, the deputy of the coalition, that is Kenya Kwanza, said, we are a country facing economic challenges and will have no time for unnecessary fights with Ruto. We have a huge task ahead of us and will not indulge in petty issues. Fair enough, Martha Karua also had something to say here. I will serve with honesty and my track record speaks for that. There is nothing wrong with the architecture of our constitution. The problem is with the behavior of leaders. I think that is in question with how the back and forth between the president and his deputy. So that's why he said the problem is with our leaders, not the constitution. Yeah.
And when they were asked what they would do for Kenya after the 9th election, 9th August, that is, Ms. Karua said that I will be a deputy president who is respectful of the constitution, the people of Kenya, and my principle. And Gachagua, on the other hand, said that he had a fairly good idea of how to help his candidate and give him backup. Yeah, and also Mr. Gachagua blamed differences between President and Dr. Ruto on an inferiority complex that does not allow strong-willed deputies to thrive. And in turn, Ms. Karua, of course, shot back, saying that the differences between the president and the deputy had rendered the government unable to fight corruption. No, I don't know what you think about that.
I know it was very interesting from the first quarter until the second quarter. The first quarter was between Justina of the Roots Party versus Musheru, and they also had a very, very, very exciting talk. And the other thing about this debate that really came out is when they were declaring their wealth. You know, Martha Karua said she's at 150. Yeah. And the Rigathi Gachagua also said he is at 800. Yeah.
Yeah.
Though like 200 was confiscated by the police. Yeah. So plus the 600 that he has. Yeah.
Yeah, in regards to that, Martha Karua denied allegations that say that she had benefited from public land, and she said, I have two homes, one in Nairobi, which I bought with clean money, and another in my father's land in Kirinyaga. For the last 30 years, I have been honest and maintained a clean political life because I have no greed. Yeah.
And just to take you back from what you were saying, on the Daily Nation, Martha Karua, the Azimio running mate, preaches the rule of law and constitutionalism. As Rigathi Gachagua, her Kenya Kwanza counterpart, promises a zeal to serve the masses and turn around the economy in a titanic clash of egos and values littered with skeletons from their past and inconsistency in their mechanics of their respective manifestos. That is both of them, you know, because the debate opened up a lot of questions that they answered because we had to know what their past was. Yes. And just to add on, Justina from the Roots Party was very eloquent, full of charisma. And she said, that their performance will be full of wild ideas and a couple of exaggerations about the state of the nation. You know, on the other side, Musheru was preaching the anti-corruption crusade, where they're really saying they are going to deal with the corruption. And she went ahead and said, you know, that she's not really into the idea of legalizing marijuana in Kenya. Yeah.
So speaking matters corruption, whereby the Azimio Party side she was against Miss Wamai about corruption, because Miss Wamai was asked how they're going to deal with corruption, and she said that we need to instill fear in matters of corruption to ensure that people respect public resources, and that is why they are coming in with the idea of hanging corrupt people, like in China. And she said that according to our constitution, we're not allowed. This is now the Agano party leader, who is deputy presidential.
Ruth Musheru.
Yes, who is now against this. She's saying, according to our constitution, we're not allowed to hang big convicts. People deserve to be corrected and not hanged. Ruth's party leaders seem intent on breaching the constitution, but by first saying that they will smoke weed to purify state house should they clinch power, and then by advocating for the hanging of the corrupt. So she is definitely against that.
Yeah, she really talked so much against it. And at a glance, some of the issues that were talked about in depth were Kenya Kwanza, the bottom-up economy, the manifesto. And they also talked a little bit about the Hustler Fund, of how they're going to do it, a little bit on health, education, Jubilee economic failures, weaponization of corruption, war, SGR, and ICD. So those were some of the things that Mr. Gachagua was having a keen interest on this debate. And if you look on the Azimio side, they talk more, first of all, about corruption, how they are going to deal with corruption, social protection fund. Then they also talked about Babacare, free university education, Jubilee continuity, handshake, and BBI. Because you remember the president himself said that the only person who can continue his work that he believes in is the Azimio candidate, that is Raila Odinga. And he also went ahead and said he has faith in Martha Karua in matters concerning the fight of corruption in the country. She has portrayed herself as an iron lady, and she's suited to fight corruption. And as much as that, we have also seen the Agano deputy president candidate, that is Rui Wamboi Musheru, also coming out and saying, this is what we're going to do. So all of them basically have tried to tackle the idea of corruption, and it's a very big thing in our country right now. So it's a good thing if they're going to tackle it. So as much as the Roots Party presidential candidate, that is Justina Amaya, was saying these people should be hanged, we don't know how it will go, but we are hoping for the best.
So in regards to Justina Amaya, and I wanted to say, to maybe quote whatever she said about the bank, and she said she proposed the settling aside of 200 acres for growing of marijuana in each of the 47 counties. 200 acres in each county for the planting of the bang now. And consequently, 50,000 youths in every county will be incentivized to plant and harvest industrial hemp, which takes 4 months to grow. So this is in turn creation of employment for the youth. And we have seen that, okay, they are saying that they're going to legalize marijuana, but we did not know how they're going to do it, implement it, and planting and everything, and the market. Now we know that we have a market, and we also have lands where we're going to plant this marijuana. But we don't know how that is going to go. But we wish the best for the four of the candidates.
Yeah, may the best candidate win, because both Karua and Gachagua have their past coming under scrutiny after they were picked as deputy candidates. You remember there was a question posed to Martha Karua to the year when Miss Martha Karua resigned from the government of the president of Mwai Kibaki. Then there was also a story about when Mr. Rigathi Gachagua was elected as MP of Mathira constituency for the first time, and that was in 2017. Martha Karua resigned in 2009. So these stories and more, you can get them on your on the Daily Nation. It has been talked about extensively on page 12 and 13 of the Daily Nation. Yes.
Also on the Standard on page 2 and 3. Now let's quickly switch gears, go to page 14, whereby it says Kenyans to wait longer for cheap maize flour. And we were very excited about the prices of maize flour dropping from 230 shillings to 100.
Yes, it was a relief, but
yes, right now it's scary because the prices have not dropped consequently as we were hoping as Kenyans. And this story on page 14 says that Kenyans dismayed by high cost of maize flour prices. And I want to quote maybe one of the residents in Machakos County. He says, I was expecting to walk out here with at least 4 packets for my family that is eagerly waiting at home. But I feel cheated, said Mr. Aluoch, as he expensively stared at the supermarket shelves. So that means that the maize flour is still at the same price, still at 230. And the reason as to why maybe it has not been dropped, the shopkeepers are giving out their woes. And I want to maybe quote whatever one of the shopkeepers here said, and I quote, "The truth is that prices could not have been adjusted immediately considering the cost at which we had bought the flour," said one shopkeeper, while the traders assured that prices will fall once they clear their old stock.
Excuse me.
So the only way for us to get maize flour at 100 shillings is if we clear this old stock that
but in some way it really makes sense, because if they had procured that from the wholesalers at a higher price than they are going to sell it, then they are going to run losses. So that maybe they should, all the stakeholders, from the retailers, the millers, the wholesalers, and the consumers themselves, have representatives sit down and maybe it's
also the CMA, that is the Cereal Millers Association, said that they are still consulting on modalities of subsidy program with no credit deal yet. So the millers have not really made a deal yet. So that is why there is a problem with this reducing of prices of maize flour. And Kenyans were very hopeful about that, but we really hope that it is going to be dropped with time.
Yeah. And just moving on to still on the same, not on the same issue rather, but the cost of living. Raila, that is the Azimio chief, said, "I'll lower the cost of living." Yeah, that was yesterday as he toured Nakuru County. Just some of the things he said, he promised the people from Nakuru that he will lower the cost of living in Kenya within the first 100 days if he's elected into office. So within the first 100 days, the Azimio chief Raila, he has promised that he is going to work a plan that he'll be able to lower the food or the living standards, the cost of living, to a place where Kenyans can be comfortable. And all we have to give him is 100 days in office, He said, just let me quote it, that once in office, we will put every effort to elevate suffering of Kenyans. Then there was also the idea of unga, as we are talking about. They said that the prices of unga for the 2 kg will be 100 shillings. For the 5 kg pack will be 250. And for the 5 kg will come at a cost of 190. Sorry, let me just take that back. 2 kg pack will be at 100 shillings. Then a 5 kg pack will be at 250 shillings. Then 10 kg pack of unga will be at 490, which will be a very a relief to the Kenyan citizens. He went ahead and talked about some issues that his government will do when he is elected into office, like Kenya needs policies to boost value addition to ensure farmers put more money in their pocket. That was said by Mr. Odinga. Azimio government will deal with the high cost of farming and ensure farmers get subsidies for their fertilizers, which is also a good thing, because the cost of living is very high, and we really want to either diversify our staple foods, our farming projects. So we should not only rely on unga, but we can try other things like maybe cassava, potatoes, yeah, just to diversify the food, and so that we have food security. He goes ahead and say that we want a peaceful environment and a united country before, during, and after elections, which is very good coming from a leader, because they run the masses. Yes. So it would be very good if all the leaders came out and promised the citizens that they are going to have a very peaceful election and a very prosperous succession from one side to the other.
That's on many more on today's newspapers. But right now we need to take a very short commercial break. But we will be back in a bit. Don't go anywhere.
Right from inception, the DISAC Media Services Limited has been committed to resolving the deficiency of empathy and progressive leadership and promoting mentorship in our social values system. Our vision and dream is to have a society where these values thrive for the well-being of all.
We strongly believe that every human has a right and a responsibility to self-actualize not only their individual potential, but that of the surrounding community.
Our media outlets use innovative broadcasts to highlight social challenges and chart the way forward to a progressive future where the elders embrace the energy of the young, while the young acknowledge the wisdom of their elders.
At DISAC Media Services Limited, we have infused technical diligence to ensure that we are accessible at the convenience of you, our audience. Here, we employ creativity and calculated logic to ensure that our news are accurate, fair, relevant, and timely, and that our shows are fascinating. Our rate card is determined by our resolve to maintain a balance between the industry standards and giving our investors great value.
Please join us in our deep-rooted commitment to bridge the gap between status quo and the future we desire for the current and future generations.
DISAC Media Services Limited,
where successful businesses
connect.
Right from inception, the DISAC Media Services Limited has been committed to resolving the deficiency of empathy and progressive leadership and promoting mentorship in our social values system. Our vision and dream is to have a society where these values thrive for the well-being of all.
We strongly believe that every human has a right and a responsibility to self-actualize not only their individual potential, but that of the surrounding community.
Our media outlets use innovative broadcasts to highlight social challenges and chart the way forward to a progressive future where the elders embrace the energy of the young, while the young acknowledge the wisdom of their elders.
At Daisak Media Services Limited, we have infused technical diligence to ensure that we are accessible at the convenience of you, our audience. Here, we employ creativity and calculated logic to ensure that our news are accurate, fair, relevant, and timely, and that our shows are fascinating. Our rate card is determined by our resolve to maintain a balance between the industry standards and giving our investors great value.
Please join us in our deep-rooted commitment to bridge the gap between status quo and the future we desire for the current and future generations.
Daisak Media Services Limited,
where successful businesses
connect.
Welcome back to Morning Dew Show here on Daisak TV, the cradle of goodness. Remember, you can reach us through our social media platforms, that is Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Daisak TV. Hashtag is always Morning Dew Show.
Yep.
Now, there's another story here. We are still continuing with the newspaper reviews. There's another story here on the Standard page 4, says that IEBC court says, IEBC boss, why we could delay polls in some areas. So these are very alarming stories, knowing that we are at 19 days to elections. And it says that Wafula Chebukati has said that if pressed by decisions of the court, the commission will be forced to make hard decisions in order to deliver the August election as scheduled. The elections agency boss said that while court decisions as this time has many implications to the commission's timeline, the commissions will be guided by law. And one of the reasons as to why it may be delayed is because of the story of Sonko's. Now that he has gone to ESCG
In Arusha.
Yes, in Arusha. And the court is yet to make a decision. Therefore, IBC, the elections will be affected in 9th election. Also, the story of Ruben Kigame application to determine whether he will be in the presidential race.
Yeah,
Also,
because he was cleared earlier yesterday to run after he was found to be eligible to run. And there's also the issue of the IEBC also tried some dry runs on the transmission, and they found out there were some loopholes within it that they have to realign before time. So probably it might take a little bit of time, but we hope that everything will be well before it gets to the 9th of August.
And also, Mr. Chebukati says that we need to reprint the ballot papers, which waste most of our time, and also there are cost implications. You know, those are challenges that the IEBC are facing as of now, but we are hoping they're going to resolve that. You can find that story more on page 4 of the Standard. Now let's maybe switch gears to another story.
Yep. And let's a little bit just talk about the battle of legislature. That is, UDA presidential candidate says this will give him ample time to implement his policies. Well-controlled parliaments will control parliament, Ruto says. And in his idea, he says the idea that for the UDA to control parliament, Dr. Ruto said he will give ample time to implement. It will give him ample time to implement his bottom-up economy approach. And you remember last time also the Azimio party chief, that is Raila Odinga, also said that he's urging voters to vote so much for the Azimio candidate so that he does not get in there alone, because he needs ground troopers, that is his soldiers, so that whatever it is that they want to pass will be passed easily. And that is the same thing Dr. William Ruto is also saying here. Yeah. And he said An analysis of a list of general election candidate gazetted last weekend by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission (IEBC) shows that DP Ruto's United Democratic Alliance has sponsored more candidates for the 5 seats than any political party. So this gives them an upper hand because UDA is fielding National Assembly candidates in 261 out of 290 constituencies countrywide, complemented by addition of candidates fielded by affiliated parties under the Kenya Kwanza Alliance. That's why he's saying they're sure that they're going to control parliament, and this will help them bring up the bottom-up economy to whatever they want it to be. Yeah, it will be easier for them to pass legislation from the parliament if you have a lot of your members in parliament. Yeah.
Now, okay, there's a story here on the Standard, and I think that it is very important because it is speaking about IMF loans. And you remember yesterday we were talking to Mr. Edmond, the economist, who was talking to us about inflation and how IMF loans. I mean, how IMF has play a part in inflation. And right now, IMF loans have loaned Kenya 28 billion as SGR debt repayments falls due. So right now we have a 28 billion loan from the IMF. That's a positive thing. But and it has come to at a very good time because you remember we're supposed to pay our debt by 2024, the Eurobond debt.
I don't know about the timing because we have a lot of pressure, a lot of debts to pay, and in 2024 we're supposed to have paid the Eurobond. The IMF is also giving us another 28 billion loan. You remember the SGR didn't go through because the now president, that is President Uhuru Kenyatta, also went out and said that he had gone back to China at some point to get more money. Yeah.
Now, this disbursement comes at a time when the country is expected to repay some Chinese loans, including the ones for the construction of the SGR, that is the standard gauge railway. So at least we have hope that we're going to somehow pay the Chinese the SGR money. It will also help replenish the country's foreign currencies reserves, which have been going down due to the spike in prices of raw materials in the global market. This is now about inflation because inflation has been going up and up.
Yeah, from the Economist yesterday, you remember he said he's expecting the inflation rate to go a little bit higher than it is right now.
But comparing to other countries, I think our inflation rate is normal because yesterday we saw other countries Sri Lanka and so many others have a higher inflation rate. But that is a positive thing. Here it's on the Standard Business on page 30. You can read that.
And just to still talk about the campaigns, this is a story on the Daily Nation on page 4, that UDA Azimio in tussle over the Nyayo Stadium for the final rally. Both camps want to use that area, the ground, for their final rally, which is set for August 6th. And Junet Mohammed, that is the MP of Suna, said that in a statement that Mr. Odinga and his running mate will hold their last meeting at Nyayo Stadium. And in regards to that, Mr. Ruto's team on Monday said they had reserved the same venue for their final rally. So it's not clear between Dr. Ruto and Mr. Odinga which team is going to use the ground for their rally. But we hope one of them they'll come to a consensus and see who's going to use the ground. There is a story on Daily Nation on page 4 about the Azimio tussle over the Nyayo Stadium for their final rally. Yeah.
Now, quickly looking at the briefers here on page 12, whereby it says Homa Bay hunt for suspect who escaped. And I want you to maybe read what it says. The police are looking for a 29-year-old suspect who escaped on Sunday He had been arrested in connection with a theft incident. Police say that the man disappeared soon after alighting from a police vehicle at 3 a.m. But officers are looking for him.
So basically, he ran away after he had been caught.
Yeah, that is very courageous.
It's not very courageous. I think it is ignorance from our police. How do you get someone take him up to the police station? Then when he leaves your car, he runs away, and now he's being hunted. That is hilarious though. On to other stories that also can take keen interest within this Daily Nation today. There's a mystery. That is a story on page 8. Mystery. Family says Koech had never informed them that he was at some point expected to testify at the ICC. You remember the issue of ICC witnesses being taken into protection and all that. So this Mr. Koech did not even tell his family that he was a witness at the ICC. So foul play suspected as ICC witness dies in Kakamega. That is the headline. It's a very interesting story. You can take time and look more into it, because he was a teacher in a school in Kakamega, and on that day he was found lying on the side of the road next to his motorbike near a market, and later he succumbed to his pains and died. Yet now that's when his family knows, that he was supposed to testify at The Hague. Koech was supposed to testify in the case against the President Kenyatta and his deputy, but recanted. So according to the head teachers of Kahuga Primary School, Mr. Koech complained of a headache and was advised to seek treatment. Later, he rode his motorcycle and was stopped by traffic police officers who asked people at the scene to take him to hospital. Mr. Koech was admitted at Kakamega County General Hospital. His condition reported to have worsened on Saturday night before he died on Sunday morning. But his brother Peter Leting and Mr. Koech was still his brother, Mr. Peter Leting, said Mr. Koech was still foaming at the mouth when he saw him on Sunday morning before he breathed his last. So this story is a very interesting story, and if you get time, you can check it out on the Daily Nation.
There's another one here that says Nakuru courts throw out sex pest appeal, and it says the Court of Appeal has upheld a 20-year sentence slapped on a man convicted for defiling a 14-year-old girl. Judges says that they dismissed the second appeal filed by George Mwendwa. They said that there was no reason to interfere with the sentence passed by the trial magistrate and upheld by the High Court.
That it is very sad that these days we have a lot of these cases of big men defiling young children. It's very sad, And two other interesting stories within the Daily Nation is Sakaja tells off NMS to stop awarding contracts and rather prepare for a handoff. That is still on page 4 of the Daily Nation. And just to move on to other stories that are really making headlines, and is Kenya Railways is to pay Moroni evictees a 20 million in compensation. That is a story that is on the Daily Nation on page 16. Yeah, some of these other stories that are making headlines is give World Health Organization land for our hospitals, because they are supposed to make a lot of to make an area they're supposed to be given the public land so that they may have set up headquarters for its region logistics hub in Nairobi. So there's a story there that tells us more on that, whether it's a very good thing to do that or not.
And we know right now that also the story of Joey and Maribe is still in court right now, and that story is in details on the Standard on page 12. You can maybe take your time and read that. It's a very, very crucial and
interesting story.
Yeah.
Just to move to county news a little bit, there's a very, very, very interesting story around here where fought in tough battle to fill Kindiki's shoes. That is the people who are contesting right now for to succeed the Tarakiniti senator, that is Kithure Kindiki, who is not seeking for any re-election right now. That story is on the county news on the Daily Nation. You can take time and look at it and see how it goes. On the coastal region, Joho begins drumming up support for Ali Nasri. Yeah, given the fact that we are not even sure about Mr. Sonko. We don't know about Sonko right now, but we hope the court will uphold or will give him a sigh of relief if at all is to run for this. And you have seen also that the IEBC has also said some of the things that would delay them would be like Sonko's case that is still pending in court. So they're still giving him time to see what way the court will go with this story. Yes.
Okay, that and many more stories on the Standard and on the Daily Nation. Get your copies and read more. There are a lot of interesting stories. But right now, we need to take a very short commercial break. But when we come back, we'll be talking matters politics. Don't go anywhere.
For the current and future generations.
Daisak Media Services Limited,
where successful businesses
connect.
Right from inception, the Daisak Media Services Limited has been committed to resolving the deficiency of empathy and progressive leadership and promoting mentorship in our social values system. Our vision and dream is to have a society where these values thrive for the well-being of all.
We strongly believe that every human has a right and a responsibility to self-actualize not only their individual potential, but that of the surrounding community.
Our media outlets use innovative broadcasts to highlight social challenges and chart the way forward to a progressive future where the elders embrace the energy of the young, while the young acknowledge the wisdom of their elders.
At Daisak Media Services Limited, we have infused technical diligence to ensure that we are accessible at the convenience of you, our audience. Here, we employ creativity and calculated logic to ensure that our news are accurate, fair, relevant, and timely, and that our shows are fascinating. Our rate card is determined by our resolve to maintain a balance between the industry standards and giving our investors great value.
Please join us in our deep-rooted commitment to bridge the gap between status quo and the future we desire for the current and future generations.
Daisak Media Services Limited,
where successful businesses
connect. Responsibility to self-actualize not only their individual potential, but that of the surrounding community.
Our media outlets use innovative broadcasts to highlight social challenges and chart the way forward to a progressive future where the elders embrace the energy of the young, while the young acknowledge the wisdom of their elders.
At Daisak Media Services Limited, we have infused technical diligence to ensure that we are accessible at the convenience of you, our audience. Here, we employ creativity and calculated logic to ensure that our news are accurate, fair, relevant, and timely, and that our shows are fascinating. Our rate card is determined by our resolve to maintain a balance between the industry standards and giving our investors great value.
Please join us in our deep-rooted commitment to bridge the gap between status quo and the future we desire for the current and future generations.
Daisak Media Services Limited,
where successful businesses
connect.
Right from inception, the Daisak Media Services Limited has been committed to resolving the deficiency of empathy and progressive leadership and promoting mentorship in our social values system. Our vision and dream is to have a society where these values thrive for the well-being of all.
We strongly believe that every human has a right and a responsibility to self-actualize not only their individual potential, but that of the surrounding community.
Our media outlets use innovative broadcasts to highlight social challenges and chart the way forward to a progressive future where the elders embrace the energy of the young, while the young acknowledge the wisdom of their elders.
At Daisak Media Services Limited, we have infused technical diligence to ensure that we are accessible at the convenience of you, our audience. Here, we employ creativity and calculated logic to ensure that our news are accurate, fair, relevant, and timely, and that our shows are fascinating. Our rate card is determined by our resolve to maintain a balance between the industry standards and giving our investors great value.
Please join us in our deep-rooted commitment to bridge the gap between status quo and the future we desire for the current and future generations.
Daisak Media Services Limited,
where successful businesses
connect.
Right from inception, the Daisak Media Services Limited has been committed to resolving the deficiency of empathy and progressive leadership and promoting mentorship in our social values system. Our vision and dream is to have a society where these values thrive for the well-being of all.
We strongly believe that every human has a right and a responsibility to self-actualize not only their individual potential, but that of the surrounding community.
Our media outlets use innovative broadcasts to highlight social challenges and chart the way forward to a progressive future where the elders embrace the energy of the young, while the young acknowledge the wisdom of their elders.
At Daisak Media Services Limited, we have infused technical diligence to ensure that we are accessible at the convenience of you, our audience. Here, we employ creativity and calculated logic to ensure that our news are accurate, fair, relevant, and timely, and that our shows are fascinating. Our rate card is determined by our resolve to maintain a balance between the industry standards and giving our investors great value.
Please join us in our deep-rooted commitment to bridge the gap between status quo and the future we desire for the current and future generations.
Daisak Media Services Limited,
where successful businesses
connect.
Now, we are at another segment, that is the political segment. And we want to talk about something that is of interest to Kenyans, and that's something that has been bothering Kenyans for a while now. Obviously, the UNGA issue. And maybe we want to get into details with this story on page 14 of the Standard. And it says, no cheap unga yet as millers seek assurance on payment. So that's the issue.
And just before you continue, I really had a very kind of tormenting experience, because so many people yesterday, or when it was announced that unga will be at 100 shillings, so many people ran to the supermarkets, to the shops, to get this at 100 shillings, but only to be sent back and be told, you know what, we cannot sell it at 100 shillings. So the question would be, what is the problem? What are we not tackling? What are we not doing? Because for the government to say that, you know what, the unga now has come to 100 shillings, it should be implemented like immediately or something of that sort, you know. Or maybe they would have sought the issues first, then maybe implement it. Because now the normal mwananchi was running to the supermarkets, to the shelves, only to stare at it and not go back home with something. Yeah.
There's an issue with millers and, of course, the retailers. The Cereal Millers Association say that they are still consulting a modality of subsidy program with no concrete deal yet. So the problem is there is no deal yet to say that, yes, we have received these subsidies. And okay, fine, we're going to give maize flour at this price that the retailers in turn can sell at 100 shillings. You know, there's no that agreement, and that is the problem. Because it was said that the government, the millers would sell a 12-pack bale of 2 kgs at 1,080, and in turn, this translates for 90 shillings for a packet.
Yeah.
And now the government will in turn compensate them 1,120 for the 12 packets. That is like 93 shillings.
So would the question be that the millers, though they entered into an agreement to bring this, to bring the flour into a price of 100 shillings, but were not in agreement of how they're going to get it, or they don't really trust the government to pay them this amount, given that right now we are really struggling as a government in terms of cash and money. That would be maybe a very legit reason for them not to implement this.
And you know, let me explain how maybe the subsidy was to be rolled out to the millers. It says to grow confidence of the millers, the government has proposed the subsidy money to be deposited in an escrow account. Now, an escrow account is where funds are held in a trust at the Central Bank of Kenya while two of the parties complete a transaction. So it's held in a Central Bank of Kenya while the two parties complete the transaction. Then after the transaction is completed, then it will be opened and operated by the Agriculture Ministry. In turn, the millers will get this money.
Now that we have only 4 months for this lucrative deal to go round, and we have already started eating the 1 week, and we are not getting the benefits. For how long are we going to do this?
You know, that is the question, because as of now, the prices have not reduced, but the government said that it should be reduced to 100 shillings. And you know, there are a lot of people who went to the supermarket, as you said, and they were frustrated because maybe they had carried maybe 500 shillings to go and get 5 packs, but they were frustrated. But this is the issue now between the millers and the government, and in turn the retailers, because there's no way you can sell maize flour at 100 shillings and you bought it maybe at 150. That would be a loss to you. Now that is a problem. And now on the government side, to ensure the millers keep their end of the bargain, the contract stipulates the ministry will deploy its representatives to the premises and depots of the millers to verify the invoices of the customer for the maize flour being sold. So the millers are supposed to submit an invoice.
An invoice for
daily.
everything that they do.
Yes.
Yes.
An invoice daily for the subsidy amount together with a copy of signed dispatch documents to the principal secretary. So the government is also, putting up measures that you should provide us an invoice every day.
And this is what I was talking about earlier, that if at all these measures were put in place before the announcement, so that by the time they make the announcement, it's already in action, like now people can go there, it would have helped a lot. That's why you see other people saying maybe it's the critics. I'll talk about it as maybe it's a political game. But from this other side, I've also seen that they were just saying it's the livelihood of Kenya, that the living costs have just gone high, and they're trying to bring it down so that people are able to maintain themselves. Yeah.
However, there have been a concern by the millers, because they are concerned where they are going to get these maize that they are going to continue purchasing available maize at the market rate. At 100 shillings, there is no that maize flour to take to normal citizens. To the retailers to sell, because we know we have issues of rainfall and fertilizers. That's also an issue. But we know that is their concern, the millers' concern, because
it's a very good concern, because right now we are having a problem with the rains, because right now we will be expecting a lot of rains, right? But right now we don't have any rains, and you can see that we've also been staggering with the farmers have been staggering with getting fertilizers, and as you can see, all these the programs that the presidential candidates have, is most of it under farming. They've talked about subsidizing the fertilizers, and right now it's at around 6,000 shillings. So at 6,000 shillings, I think most farmers cannot really get that. So that is the biggest problem. How are they going to get people to bring out this maize to the millers? Now, okay, like the farmers sell it to the millers. At what? How? At the question would be, at how much are the farmers going to sell it to the millers, so that they also make some profit, And when they are the millers are making a deal with the government, but they should also look at other stakeholders like the retailers. Now, if you bought at the unga, maybe you bought it at 200 shillings. Now you want to sell it at maybe at 250 shillings. Then the government says you have to sell it at 100 shillings. There's some loss you've gone. There's a lot of loss, because, and that is a 2 kg. That means the retailers will have, for them to realize some money, it means they'll have to sell only the 2 kg. Yeah, it's a loss, but somehow it brings more money compared to the 1 kg, because the 1 kg pack now will go, if this is implemented, the 1 pack kg will go at 52 shillings. And there's that smaller one, the 500 grams, will go at 30 shillings. So if at all they don't get to amicable solution, then the only way the retailers will at least try to make money out of it is just selling the 2 kg at 100 shillings. Yeah.
And it's a big loss, because they buy in bulk.
They buy in bulk,
especially the supermarkets. I can imagine how
you feel their plight.
That's a lot of loss. Maybe the government is thinking of compensating them also, because it's like a chain, like they have a part to play in this. So
I don't think the government is going to compensate the retailers. Yeah, because you can't go around every shop telling how much stock do you have. So so it's a deal between the millers and the farmers and the government, and some representative from the retailers. All these stakeholders are supposed to come up, have a round table sitting, and make this work, because already the Kenyan Mwananchi right now wants that unga at 100 shillings.
He's expecting it to be at 100 shillings.
And right now they're really wondering, why are these people not implementing what was said? Someone back there, way back maybe in in the village won't understand whatever it is that is going on here. The idea is the president said unga should be at 100 shillings. Why am I coming to your shop with 100 shillings and you're not giving me the 2 kg unga? You see, that is an issue. That's why I'm really questioning why they had to say that when the deal wasn't done yet.
Yeah, and but as much as we're speaking about the challenges and the negatives of it, there is a positive of it.
Sure.
The government has waived the 50% import duty on non-genetically modified organisms. That is the GMOs.
Yeah.
That is white maize, yellow maize, and animal feed. So the import duty, 50% import duty
Is off.
Yes.
That is a good thing.
Yeah, and also it has waived all levies charged on imported maize. So that is on a positive because at least now there's no
But
import duty.
as much as we could look at it as something positive, in another dimension we might be disadvantaged because of our local farmers. Because right now, if we take too much time to move into importing maize, then where does this maize that our farmers are having or that are trying to get, where will they sell them? That is a question, just a thought. But as per now, we really pray that and hope that this goes well because we're still waiting for that unga at 100 shillings. And the idea is it's supposed to run for 4 weeks.
For 4 weeks.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe what happens after 4 weeks? I'm not
That
really
is a
sure.
question actually Mr.
Yeah.
Meshago was asking yesterday.
What really
What
happens
happens
after
after
4 weeks? Are they going to add the levies? Are we going to, we have a mechanism of having maize in the stores, or the millers are going to add more money? So we're not really sure how it's going to go.
But we know the critics obviously have to critique, and they critique this, and they say they are concerned where the cash-strapped government that is also struggling to maintain a fuel subsidy will get the money to give to compensate the retailers.
And I think that is the biggest question that also prompted the millers not to continue with the idea until everything was put in place. Because right now we know the whole of Kenya is struggling. The government is struggling. We have fuel prices rising. The cost of living is very high. For them to just come up and say, you know what, we have to cut down the price of unga. Obviously, the people who are supposed to benefit from that business, which are the millers and the farmers, the millers, and the retailers who are selling unga, had to have those questions because they are going to run losses, and in turn won't be able to have another, maybe after the 4 weeks, they won't be able to have the capital to again go acquire the flour to be in their stores. Yeah, so that is the biggest problem. That's why I think they have to get everything together before it is implemented. But the good news is you should not lose hope, because there's a good news. And the good news is the government has promised that by the end of the week, this will be implemented, is it?
Yes. Yes. And actually, Deputy President William Ruto wondered why the government had to wait for so long to provide cheap meats to Kenyans. So according to the DP, this was just a ploy to hoodwink Kenyans to vote for his competition. And I quote what he says: "What we are saying is that we will not be doing what our competitors are doing, to put citizens in a state of hunger and then pretend that you are reducing the prices of unga," said the DP on Monday in a campaign rally. So, this is an issue that is concerned to fellow Kenyans. And you can tell us maybe, what do you think about this? What is the solution? How should the government handle this issue? Because it's an issue that is affecting you and I. If they don't sit and come up with an agreement or with a solution, then we are the ones who are suffering at the end of the day. So what do you think is the solution? How should the government
go about all this?
You can tell us on our platforms. But right now, we need to take a short commercial break. But when we come back, we'll be talking matters lifestyle. Don't switch that button.
Right from inception, the DISAC Media Services Limited has been committed to resolving the deficiency of empathy and progressive leadership and promoting mentorship in our social values system. Our vision and dream is to have a society where these values thrive for the well-being of all.
We strongly believe that every human has a right and a responsibility to self-actualize not only their individual potential, but that of the surrounding community.
Our media outlets use innovative broadcasts to highlight social challenges and chart the way forward to a progressive future where the elders embrace the energy of the young, while the young acknowledge the wisdom of their elders.
At DISAC Media Services Limited, we have infused technical diligence to ensure that we are accessible at the convenience of you, our audience. Here, we employ creativity and calculated logic to ensure that our news are accurate, fair, relevant, and timely, and that our shows are fascinating. Our rate card is determined by our resolve to maintain a balance between the industry standards and giving our investors great value.
Please join us in our deep-rooted commitment to bridge the gap between status quo and the future we desire for the current and future generations.
DISAC Media Services Limited,
where successful businesses
connect.
Right from inception, the DISAC Media Services Limited has been committed to resolving the deficiency of empathy and progressive leadership and promoting mentorship in our social values system. Our vision and dream is to have a society where these values thrive for the well-being of all.
We strongly believe that every human has a right and a responsibility to self-actualize not only their individual potential, but that of the surrounding community.
Our media outlets use innovative broadcasts to highlight social challenges and chart the way forward to a progressive future where the elders embrace the energy of the young, while the young acknowledge the wisdom of their elders.
At DISAC Media Services Limited, we have infused technical diligence to ensure that we are accessible at the convenience of you, our audience. Here, we employ creativity and calculated logic to ensure that our news are accurate, fair, relevant, and timely, and that our shows are fascinating. Our rate card is determined by our resolve to maintain a balance between the industry standards and giving our investors great value.
Please join us in our deep-rooted commitment to bridge the gap between status quo and the future we desire for the current and future generations.
DISAC Media Services Limited,
where successful businesses
connect.
Right from inception, the DISAC Media Services Limited has been committed to resolving the deficiency of empathy and progressive leadership and promoting mentorship in our social values system. Our vision and dream is to have a society where these values thrive for the well-being of all.
We strongly believe that every human has a right and a responsibility to self-actualize not only their individual potential, but that of the surrounding community.
Our media outlets use innovative broadcasts to highlight social challenges and chart the way forward to a progressive future where the elders embrace the energy of the young, while the young acknowledge the wisdom of their elders.
Welcome back to this exciting segment of their lifestyle, where we talk matters health, matters fitness, matters lifestyle. And today we have our main concern, or our main agenda today. We'll be talking about athletics, and we'll be talking of how our athlete
Athlete.
athletes. Thank you for that. We'll be talking on how our athletes have made us proud, and it's been a while before we got the gold medal.
Yes.
Yes, and it's been an issue because it's known for us to be running and making the headlines within the athletics world. So far we've not been able to get a lot of goals as expected. But yesterday we had a leap of faith that suited Kenyan's heart after winning the exclusive gold. Yeah. Yesterday, Faith Kipyegon really made us proud because we didn't know whether we were going to get gold or not. Yeah, given that Stanley Waithaka and Helen Obiri had earlier warmed our hearts with silver, and we were hoping now we are getting there to get the gold. And this came as Faith Obiri took us through that. Yeah.
And she was so excited about it, obviously. And maybe we can quote what she said. I was facing a lot of pressure, said Kipyegon, the two-time Olympics champion in the 1500 meters. Everybody was expecting something special from me. Everybody was like, Faith, we believe in faith. So it was real pressure, but I managed it.
Yeah, which is a very good thing, given that we had already lost our marathon, where we are really known for that. I don't know where people like Eliud Kipchoge went to, because we lost the marathon, respectively, the men and the women's marathon. There's a time in Kenya we would hear some names like Catherine Dereba, and we would be like, yes, this is our gold medal, this is ours. Right now, our neighbors, the Ethiopians, have taken it, and they're really doing well also on the other side. They took both the male and the women's marathon title too, and now it is taken by Ethiopia. Yeah, Ethiopia retained the men's marathon title on Sunday before compatriot Gatitum Gebrselassie swept to victory in the women's marathon on Monday. Yeah.
And this is very positive. I'm very excited for this. We can see that Faith Kipyegon was very prepared for this. She said she was really prepared for the race. So it was, I think she was expecting to win, because she says here, to tell you the truth, I knew the Ethiopian lady was going to be fast. I knew she was a front runner, and we really ran quickly. And I thank God I won. So she admits that her competitor was really fast, but she did it because she said that she was really prepared for it. So it's like she knew her competitor, so she was prepared to beat
Yeah,
her.
this Kenya right now, I don't know if we are not really helping our athletes reach their potential, or the athletics Kenya should do more to help our athletes so that they get more better results, or maybe go get people from the lower side, maybe from high school, so that they are trained. By the time they reach this point, they are able to give us results, because this is our pride. This is what we are known for. Athletics is us, and we reconnect with it. And it's very devastating when we don't get it. We don't get the golds, because all we've been getting right now are the silvers and the bronze medal, So the two-time defending champion, that is Kip Ruto, Conselas, who would settle for bronze. It goes without saying that the two-time Olympic champions in 1,500 meters, Faith Kipngetich, was a woman under pressure to suit the Kenyan souls, because we really prayed for it. That's why it's a very big story, and we had to talk about it today on the lifestyle. Yeah.
It's really positive, looking at it, having gold after maybe waiting for it for a minute, and maybe our hearts were like, oh God, we hope that Faith really wins this, but she did make us proud for that, and we're really happy for her.
We're really happy that she did that, because she was the double. If you look on this other side about double steeplechase showdown, there's that Ugandan Olympic champ, that is Chemutai, going for the rare double, and in that race we'll have Kenya's Silifin Chespol leads the heart to two of the women's 3,000 meters steeplechase at the World Athletics Championship Oregon Hayward Field in Eugene, Oregon. On Saturday, that final will be held today at 4:45. So we're also hoping that Chespol fights for the country's honor in a Kenyan affair. That is the 300 meters steeplechase. Then there was that Kenyan-born Kazakh Jeruto and Bahenian Yavi, that is, are favorites, but we believe in Chespol that we'll be eager to bring the title back home, so that we be able to make our gold count very, very, very effective, and a little bit more than what we have right now. Yes.
And there's a preview here that says Chelimo back in action to race in 5,000 meters. And it says that after her stunning performance to deliver bronze in women's 10,000 meters finals on Saturday, Margaret Chelimo returns to action in the women's 5,000 meters heat alongside 2018 World Under-20 Beatrice Chebet and Gloria Kite tomorrow.
Yep.
So this is tomorrow's race. This is a preview, and we will be looking forward to that. We hope that Chelimo will win that race.
And just on a light note, tomorrow will be the day 6, and I just want to give you the program so that you keep our athletes in prayers and cheer them on as they make us proud. Tomorrow we'll be having javelin, that is the qualification of Group A, and at around 2:25 a.m. we'll have hits with the Ellen Obiri, Beatrice Chebet, Margaret Chelimo, Gloria Kite. These are some of the big names that will be there on the 5,000 meters hits. Then we'll be having javelin in Group B. That is at around 2:50 a.m. Yeah. Then at around 3:20 a.m. we'll have the 800 meters men hits. And here we also want to. By the time we get to the finals, we're expecting to bag a lot of gold, because we have the big names that we've been looking for. That is Emmanuel Korir will be there on the heat, Wycliffe Kinyamal, Emmanuel Wanyonyi, and Cornelius Tuwei. It's been a while since we had taken all the three medals, like from bronze, silver, and gold, and we've been doing that before. So I hope this as the 800 meters men's steeplechase, I hope in their heats where they'll go well, and all of them go, because I've realized they always have this one person who is like a pace setter. Then the rest come back with that finishing power. It's very exciting. Do you watch a lot of
Yes,
athletics?
I do. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah. So we are backing our Kenyans on that. We'll also have at 4:15 a.m. that will be 400 meters women hurdle semi-final. Yes. Then at around 4:30 we will have the final, depending on the people that will make it off the semi-final. Then we'll also have another 400 meters men, that is semi-final. Then at 5:45, that will be the cream or icing on the cake, where the 3,000 meters women's steeplechase final will be going down. And all our prayers, all our support is with Selifin Chespol, who is going to be our flag bearer in that race. That is a 3,000 meters. Please keep them in your prayers and see us take these gold medals back to Kenya. Give Kenya some honor. Yeah.
And actually here I can see that they have highlighted the 300 meters steeplechase finalist, and that is the first one is Celestine Chipsol from Kenya. We're very proud of her. There's Winfred Yavi from Bahrain. There's Nora Jeruto from Kazakhstan. There's Mekides Abede from Ethiopia. There's Piruth Chemutai from Uganda. There's Werua Getachew from Ethiopia. Simbo Alameyu from Ethiopia. Emma Koban from USA, and so many others. Also, there was one from Kenya's men 800 meters squad, that is Emmanuel Korir. There's Emmanuel Wanyonyi, Wycliffe Kinyamal, and Noah Kibet. Really wish the best.
And there's something happening in the championships. I just want to keep you aware that Japan COVID outbreaks rose at the championships. So there's a COVID outbreak that is really, I think, affecting the athletes from Japan. Just to highlight a little bit of it, so that 4 more members of Japan's World Athletics Championship team have tested positive of COVID-19, bringing the number of infections to 15. The Japan Association of Athletics Federation says that the outbreak began over the weekend when 7 positive tests were announced among the camp, including 2 marathon runners, 4 support staff, and the head coach. Another 4 positive tests were announced yesterday involving 1 marathon runner and 3 more coaches. And on Tuesday, JAF said 3 more athletes and an official were hit by the infection. One of those, the 200 meters sprinter Yuki Kioke, will now have to miss his preliminary race, the federation said. So we're just hoping and praying that our people are safe there, that our athletes will be safe, because corona is still real and it's still happening, and the infections are really growing high. So we hope that our as much as you make us proud in the tracks, please keep yourself off and very secure from the COVID-19 outbreak, because they are going to come back in the country, and they'll have to go to isolation for 2 weeks, and maybe people can get it, and then we really don't want to go back to where we were some time back.
And I want to read maybe what Wycliffe Kinyamal said. He said that he actually clocked the fastest time of the season, that is 1 minute and 43 seconds, when he won the Kenya trials last month. And he said that in 2019 he wasn't fit enough. I had just recovered from an injury, so I didn't make it to Doha. I hope to make my world champions debut in style by making it to the podium. He is very confident about that. Wanyonyi, a world under 20 champion and second place finisher at the Kenya trials, is another obvious medal contender, having won Rabat Diamond League last month. He had a season best of 1 minute and 44 seconds. So these are that and so many other athletes. But we really hope and pray for Kenyan athletes.
Yeah, like the 3,000 meters steeplechase. Now that we've given our reassurance and our support to the showstopper today. Today, that is Celestine Chespol, who's going to do the 300 meters women's steeplechase final today. Given that on the men's side, we didn't really get the gold or the silver, but at least we settled for the bronze, and that was brought by Kipruto. For years, Kenya has mastered the art of triumphing over 3,000 meters steeplechase race. A lot points of the pedigree here. For instance, 13 of the 17 men's wild turtles have gone to Kenyans, with the nation sweeping that top honor from the Osaka 2007 until Doha 2019. So in the early hours of yesterday, however, Conselas Kipruto surrendered his world title Olympic champion to the Moroccan the Moroccan El Bakali in the water jump race final during day 4 action of the Oregon World Athletic Championship at Hayward Field. Despite the fact that Kipruto controlled the race for the long moments but could only settle for bronze medal in a time of 8 minutes and 27 seconds, 8 minutes, 27 seconds and 27.92 seconds. It is always good to be in the top 3, you know, and it feels nice despite our records before and about the golds and the silver, but as much as we've settled for the bronze, it is a good start. It is okay.
It is a good start. But as of now, we have a gold from Faith, and we're really proud of that. And we really hope for the best for the athletes out there. Keep praying for them and keep watching them as we have read for you the time the games.
Yes, I'm really repeating that at 5:45. That is the icing on the cake. That is the time we are hoping, and we know and we pray that we are getting the gold from the 3,000 meters women's steeplechase, and Celestine Chess Paul will bring it home for us. Yes, we hope and pray that happens, since on the 3,000 men we got bronze. Yes, but before that we were the winners. We were the record holders for that. We had the gold the last time we did the 300 meters steeplechase, but this time we lost just a little bit, just just 2 people in front of us. So we hope that the lady Chess Paul will be giving us that honor today at 5:45 a.m. Don't miss it.
Yes. Okay, and on that note, we need to end the show, but thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for listening to us, and we hope you're going to be here the same time, same place tomorrow. I've been your host, Anne Mungai.
And I'm your host, Andy Mike Kilambo. And just to clarify what I've said, the 300 meters women's steeplechase, since it will be 5:45 a.m., that is, you'll watch it tomorrow morning. Not as I said earlier at 5 in the evening. It is a.m., so for us, we'll watch it tomorrow morning. We hope for the best, and enjoy your day.
Have a good day.
Buda, si tumejambo na
and future generations,
Daisak Media Services Limited,
where successful businesses
connect.
Right from inception, the Daisak Media Services Limited has been committed to resolving the deficiency of empathy and progressive leadership and promoting mentorship in our social values system. Our vision and dream is to have a society where these values thrive for the well-being of all.
We strongly believe that every human has a right and a responsibility to self-actualize not only their individual potential, but that of the surrounding community.
Our media outlets use innovative broadcasts to highlight social challenges and chart the way forward to a progressive future where the elders embrace the energy of the young, while the young acknowledge the wisdom of their elders.
At Daisak Media Services Limited, we have infused technical diligence to ensure that we are accessible at the convenience of you, our audience. Here, we employ creativity and calculated logic to ensure that our news are accurate, fair, relevant, and timely, and that our shows are fascinating. Our rate card is determined by our resolve to maintain a balance between the industry standards and giving our investors great value.
Please join us in our deep-rooted commitment to bridge the gap between status quo and the future we desire for the current and future generations.
Daisak Media Services Limited,
where successful businesses
connect.